We're just going to give it a minute and then we'll get started. It's good to see a lot of the community members here. So thank you for joining.
And if you're on iOS, we're now available in the App Store.
The best thing we heard since last night. Yes. Okay, great. So Bruce, it's nice to be back actually, to see everyone. And I think it's time for Ready Steady Crypto. Today's session is something I think everyone is waiting for. Bruce, you kind of built it up on the community. So Bruce, is the crypto winter here? Over to you.
Okay, thank you. So winter is coming is clearly a Game of Thrones reference, and on the basis I am from the far north, it was debatable whether I'm from the right side of the wall or the wrong side of the wall. But I'll leave you to make that distinction. So our analysts have been kind of working away over the last week or so to kind of pull together some data and to kind of share some thoughts with all of you around kind of where we are. Not too much about kind of what's caused it, but what we think the prognosis is as we kind of look forward. So really just want to kind of do that. As you can see, I'm still smiling. So clearly we think the prognosis is not all doom and gloom. And I presume that you're all here because you've got an interest in it as well. So I know Prabal's got a few questions lined up. So why don't, Shruti, would you want to just kick those off and just pull those questions, and then I will dive into the data.
Yeah.
My favorite subject.
Let's get the first one. It's up here. Interesting.
Do you know what I love? There's no not sure's. Everyone's got. So can everyone see the poll?
Yeah, now they can.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but this is good. I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Really. Look, I think it. We're a partly self-selecting audience, aren't we? So so that's not a huge surprise. Do you want to pop the next one up?
Yes.
Prabal?
It's up. Yeah. This is always Akshay's favorite question.
I know. I was gonna take it out, but as Akshay said he was coming along today, I thought we'd better leave it in. Okay, quite an even spread today, and let's just jump on to the next one as well.
Yep, just coming up. Yep.
Right, here's the key one. In the next 6 to 12 months, are you going to increase your crypto allocation, decrease it, sit in your hands, or are you going to get out of crypto either for now or altogether? Okay, that wasn't the answer I expected. I expected that one to be a little bit more.
Yeah, even I thought a little between 1 and 2.
Cool. Okay, let's dive in, shall we? So I'm gonna pop something on the screen. So Shruti, you just need to let me know if
Yes,
there's any
yes,
problems
yes.
with the picture. Okay, is it the beginning, the end, or the end, the beginning? Judging by the poll results, I would say most people seem to be thinking that we're getting ready for a new start, and I would say overall, we would agree with that too. So, let's just reflect quickly on the last 2 months, because it's been a bit of a roller coaster, hasn't it? And I'm not going to read all of these out, but the markets are down, tech's down more in the markets, and BTC's down kind of more again. I think it's interesting to look at fear and greed, and equities have tumbled in half. They've gone from 60 down to 30. And that's pretty significant in an equity context. Crypto actually only started at 30. So we'll come to, the kind of people we think are in the market, who were in the market and who are going to stay in the market. And it's kind of crashed quite dramatically from that down to below 10. So clearly we're in a position where there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And uncertainty always creates opportunity. But things will continue to be volatile. And just because it creates opportunity, with rewards also comes risk. So let us dive into some kind of real data points. But we've heard it before. Someone sent me this the other day. The number of times that the Bitcoin has been called a bubble, obviously it's on a logarithmic scale, and then Bitcoin's been declared dead, and it, like Lazarus, keeps coming back. Are we in a crypto winter? Yeah, we probably are. But the good thing about winter is there's always a spring that follows it, and there's always a summer that follows that. And equally, you should expect that there'll be another winter coming as well, because in that sense, it's really no different to the other markets that are out there. Where it is different is in the level of volatility that we've got just now, as it's still developing as an asset class. So on that logarithmic scale, I found that quite interesting. But let's look at it on a non-log scale. And on that early one where you saw Bitcoin being declared dead. So here's the drawdowns. Here's the drawdowns over 50% in the last 10 years. So the first one was a 93% drawdown. So firstly, I wish I had bought at $29 or even at $2.10. That would have been a great place to be. But it was clearly a massive drawdown for people at the time. So as you sort of go through, the drawdowns are getting less, but they're still significant. They're still more than 50%. So in any stretch, you can be caught on the wrong side of that. So the question that this really kind of brought to my mind was, okay, so it was $29. It's now up at over $20,000. So that's clearly a good compound place to be. But you can get, over time, you can get caught on the wrong side of things. So, if we're in this drawdown period, how quick has the bounce back been? So what we did was we indexed all of these back to 100 to look at the drawdown recovery. So as you can see here, that the green one is that very first one, with that $29 going down to $2.10. And you can then the slightly longer one is the orange. And then we're into the blue, which is following a similar sort of trend. And then we've got April 21, October 21 as it happened, but it was kind of quite quick. And then kind of where we are just now. Now, whether you believe in charts or not, I would sort of pull from this that, we are still in that period. We've probably got a little way to go yet before we kind of bottom out. But equally, if I look at the past as some kind of indicator of the future, and things do come in cycles, then I would suggest that, you know, it's not going to bounce back as quickly as it came down. And you can see that here. It always takes longer to come back out. But actually the prognosis, whether it's, you know, if we're currently 30 weeks in, you know, it's, you know, if I would use this as a kind of starting point, it's not going to be 60 weeks. It's not going to be 90 weeks, but it's going to start coming back after that. And, you know, if I put my private equity hat on from old, you know, one of the expressions that we always used to kind of live by was, don't try and call the absolute bottom. If you're going to invest in something and you believe in the quality of the underlying asset, invest in anywhere in the bottom quartile, whether it's still going down or you're catching it on the way back up again, is going to see you good over that kind of longer term. So part of this is about short term versus long term. Part of this is about when you look to add more and kind of what you do sort of tactically in the kind of short term that sort of sees you through that. So I thought this was one that I was interested in sharing. So I wanted to touch on correlation. So, you know, Bitcoin versus the tech sector, and this is the last 12 months, and this is literally a snapshot from Google this morning. What I find really interesting, however, is Bitcoin's actually the one on the right. So, you know, it's been bumpy up and down, but actually over the piece, you know, in that kind of 12-month window, the tech sectors, in this case, we've used the Nasdaq 100 technology index. So we've used that as the kind of measure, has taken, you know, a much bigger pounding. So what about the people? So some of you may have seen Akshar's note a little while back, and he talked about spectators, speculators, and allocators. And I'll come on to that a little later. But, you know, the market's full of them. Well, it's not full of spectators because they tend to be sitting on the sidelines and commenting, but certainly speculators and allocators. And, you know, we wanted to look at, you know, as the market has matured or is maturing, and as adoption increases, what's been happening each time that we've been through each of those downturns. And, you know, the one, you know, whether it's the active addresses is as good a proxy as any, what we're looking at is every time we go through a downturn, less people leaving the market in relative terms than did the previous time. So actually the cohort that are staying in and are staying invested is getting bigger and bigger. And again, that as a kind of market develops, that's a positive thing. If we've got people coming in and leaving all the time, then it, you know, it's difficult to see how you can sustain that for the long term. But what we're seeing here is much more retention of people in the market. So how does kind of user numbers equate to, you know, similar periods in the past? And this was a lovely chart that someone dug out of the A16Z report. And I would suggest you look at it if you haven't seen it. It's a fantastic report. Now, I know what I was doing in 1996, and it certainly wasn't. I wasn't on the internet because, you know, frankly, we didn't have access to the internet. I think I had a mobile phone, but I can't remember. Certainly didn't have an email account. Didn't know what a spreadsheet was, and you know, that was the kind of earlier days of the internet. And, you know, if we buy into, you know, the analogy that, you know, what we're doing on, you know, whether it's DeFi, probably more than Web3, but DeFi and kind of where that's going, and it's following the same track as the internet. Again, using that kind of logarithmic scale, we're broadly on track. And if someone said to you, get a time machine back to 95 or 96 and invest a load of money in the internet, and you did, and you just took it as a long-term hold, and you saw yourself through 2000 and 2001. And again, as an investor at that time, I remember some of the pain that people went through. But over the longer term, you've done very well. So again, this is about taking a kind of longer term view on the asset class. And I thought, if you get a chance, have a look at that A16Z report. It's an excellent report. So what to do, and I'm going to open this up for questions. I've been out talking to lots and lots of people. And I think one of the most interesting comments that was made to me was made by someone recently. And the first person I spoke to that day told me how much they'd lost, and they'd lost a lot. The next person I spoke to that day said, I haven't lost anything, I'm just down. And that mindset was quite interesting, because if you've lost it, you don't think it's coming back. So again, the speculator, spectator, allocator piece. Whereas the person who said, listen, I'm just down, they're an allocator. They've made the mental leap into kind of why crypto is good. They believe in the fundamentals of a number of the projects. They actually don't believe that all the projects are going to be around going forward. And for them, this is about allocation. This is about staying invested, and seeking, looking at the long term. So if you feel you've lost versus you feel you're down, that mindset is quite different and quite important. Next thing's time. If we're in 1996, ignoring the kind of the long hair and the dodgy shirts and everything else that we might be wearing, if we're in 1996 till now, crikey, just investing that money and letting it compound is a great place to be. And there's two big lessons in investing, and the other one's diversify. Honestly, compounding and diversification are your friends. So if, again, you've made that decision about being an allocator, then you've got to play the longer game. And you also have to, regardless of what investments you make, you've got to diversify. I would suggest that anyone who's going, crypto or anything else as a single investment is just creating a kind of a potential risk reward that wouldn't suit most people for the long term. I'm going to come back to toolkit in a minute. I want to just talk about flight to quality for a second. And, if I think about all of the downturns that I've worked through and run businesses through, the one thing that happens every time is a flight to quality, whether that's, on investment, whether that is products that consumers use, whatever it happens to be, there's a flight to quality through that period. This is going to be no different in the crypto world. So what does a flight to quality look like? I think we're going to see more failures of more currencies. I think we're going to see more mergers of more currencies. And we're going to see less currencies that are actively traded by the kind of sort of the large cohort that kind of exists. And the same's true in the currency market. You pick out a small number of currencies that people will actively trade in, and then there's a whole load of others that kind of represent those countries. We're going to see the same here. So there will be, I believe, a flight to quality. So then, so toolkit's the last one. And, a little bit self-serving here, but it'd be wrong of me if I didn't say something around this. But if you've made the decision to allocate, then, you owe it to yourself to kind of manage that as best as you possibly can, and to use the right kind of toolkits for that. Now, I clearly believe that we've got the right toolkit. It's up to you to make the decision for yourself. But it's then about making sure that you've got the toolkit that can work for you and do the hard work for you when you're not able to kind of follow it, so that you can actually benefit from all the other things. So if I think back to the poll that we had, there were clearly a couple of people who are looking to leave the market. So there are spectators. There is trading opportunity. Those are our speculators. And there will continue to be, just because of the volatility that exists, there'll continue to be trading opportunities. But, fundamentally, if you think about large institutions, the allocators are the ones that will be the foundation for this market. And whether you're part of that or not, allocating is therefore about how much of your total pool of assets you're committing to this. And it's about being down. It's not about whether you've lost. So those would be my kind of key themes that come out of that. So what does that all mean in total? Let me stop sharing. I think we're in a market that's got a little bit to go in terms of dropping. So I still think we'll see a few bounces, but it will continue to sort of drop and kind of bounce along the bottom. I think we're 3 to 6 months in, and we're going to see this continue for, I would say, at least another 6 months yet, as we sort of start to kind of work our way out. And it's not going to be a straight line out. It's going to kind of bounce its way out. And whether that's 6 months or whether that's 12 months, that's the kind of time period we're in. And then once we come out of that, I think the increase in the cohort size that we've got, the increase in the use cases that we've got and we see, are really going to continue to drive kind of crypto as an investment class and an asset class. And actually, the final piece that I think is really going to help the industry is regulation. I think regulation is coming. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for all of you. It's a good thing for companies like us, and it's going to get rid of some of the things out there that frankly shouldn't be there. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't start seeing, countries putting, quite adult regulation in place within the kind of next 6 months. And I think that's really going to have an impact on kind of what people do and how they come into the market and how much funds come into the market. So that's where we are. We think there's a little bit more to go. We think there'll be more volatility, and obviously, I hope you get a chance to download Invest AI Crypto and use that to kind of help you to sort of work through and manage through that. And Shruti, I'm going to open the floor up to questions.
Yeah. So today we have Abhishek who wants to ask his question. So we're just unmuting him, and Abhishek, go ahead.
Bruce and Shruti, a big welcome. So, frankly speaking, it really feels better for us to, get connected to the team and to the CEO quite often. And obviously, this is a better thing for us, for the end users who are very new to this application. But again, Bruce, I just want to jump on to the first point that the recent collapse of Terra Luna makes the market very indecisive, and it's the time that we should never judge the market. That is the point there. But what did you really feel about the collapse of Terra Luna?
Well, I mentioned the flight to quality, and I don't think it will be the last one that we see disappear. It was a shock at the time because of the size of it, but there'll be others. And it's a bit like if you worked in banking in 2008, no one ever believed that Lehman's could disappear. So you do get shocks to the system. So I think it's having the ability to react to it that's important. And that's why whatever tools you use, you've got to use tools that will get you in and out of positions quickly, so that you don't get stuck holding something as it kind of crashes to the floor. I don't know what the next one will be, but I'd be surprised if we make it to September and we don't see another one disappear. I don't know what it will. I don't know what it'll be. But I'm pretty sure that there will be another one. It could be small, it could be mid-size, it could be large. But I think that's the kind of nature of kind of where we're at. So, my advice would be make sure that you're not sitting with lots of long positions that you can't trade out of. So actually in difficult and volatile conditions, you've got to be willing to trade. And
Yes.
you've got to be able to kind of trade through that.
Yes. To be honest, actually, I've been a spectator for a long time now. That I really did not have the confidence to jump into the market through the AI crypto platform or some other platform. But I have never speculated things about crypto. I just remained silent for a really, really long time, and I've been a silent watcher. So, in general, what would you like to advise, or what would you like to suggest, or make a statement about the future of crypto and the famous winter is coming?
So it's not winter's coming, winter's here. Okay, so we're in winter. So and as I said, after winter comes spring. So I look, I can't advise you, because if I do advise you, my legal and compliance director will jump up and down and give me a hard time. But let me just say kind of a general point. I think if you're a spectator, I would spectate for longer. I think if you're a spectator, you should wait a little bit longer. I think if you're already in, or you're allocated, or you've decided that you're going to allocate, there's a kind of timing decision, and there's a kind of where you're going to place a decision. If you're in the unsure camp, I would just sit tight for a bit longer. Keep coming along to these kind of things, and be ready to move.
We have Brian. Brian, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah. Hi. Hey, Bruce. Hi, team. Thanks for taking my questions. So when I speak to my wife, I'm definitely down. It's not a loss. Okay. Is that clear? Until I
temporarily down, obviously.
That's right. And just a little. So so it's all semantics in terms of who you're speaking with. I had a question on Alpha Hunter. Is there a way to measure market beta with that product? Obviously, it's gonna be very dependent on when you enter your position and open, I don't know, call it a tracker or what have you, but is there a way to measure? Because I guess what I'm curious of, if you entered it right before winter set in or fall was here, right? The idea of that bot, you're supposed to make money in all market conditions. Now, noting it's long only, but if it's down, yes, there were some of those 25 currencies in the universe that would have been up on certain days. And I guess I'm wondering, how is the bot performing in identifying those buy opportunities to create alpha, versus how would the program and bot have performed relative to the just inherent market beta?
Yeah, look, kind of a very rough number. If the market was down, or actually BTC was down 40% at one point, and for the same period, Alpha Hunter was down about 20, and the S&P was down about 12. So it almost
I did see that chart. Yeah,
it didn't matter at that point where you were. You were going to be down. It was a question of kind of how much, and
everything's relative.
Yeah, it is, but it kind of it slightly comes back to, any money that you're investing, you should always make sure that you kind of match up how long you're willing to kind of lock it up for. I don't mean lock it up in a fun sense, but leave it out there for. If you're going to need instant liquidity, you've got to put it into a kind of less volatile, lower risk investment class, and then you don't have to have the down conversation with your wife, because
I was going to say, so you can take that call, I guess. But if we
Absolutely.
want returns and put a kid through college, you've got to take some bets. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you look at Hunter on a relative basis, even over that really tough period, it's done a lot better than if you'd been in the kind of single currency. It's done a little less than if you'd been in the S&P. But I think, given the kind of upside potential, that's actually a kind of decent place to be.
but there's no absolute or true measure of beta, right? Because of timing.
I would open that one up to Sartik. Is Sartik here?
Sarthak is, I did see him. Yeah,
Okay.
he's there. Yeah, Sarthak,
Hey, hi. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I mean, we have an annualized volatility number that helps for the test period. It's around 87% versus 73-76% on BTC. So, I mean, the thing is, how would you say, it's not that high beta. It's because of the massive pull-offs that we go into. If we've been running into alpha hunter strategies, you would see that, it's a risk reward of 1:5. So as soon as we hit 1% stop loss, it just goes and waits in the USDT for a long time. So that's how you reduce a lot of that volatility. And that's how, when you have sharp decreases, the massive sell-off in like 2-3 candles, we avoid those falls. And even when, in bull markets, it is sequential cycles, because, you hit, if any one of your currency ends in green, that means that the market is not bear, right? So, you start the next cycle. So the configuration actually helps reduce the volatility, even though majority of the allocation is in altcoins.
And that's with the mechanism of a stop loss. Is it a stop loss on every position?
Yes, we are right now running it at -1 and 5, but there are active conversation and offering other risk rewards as well.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for the intel, both. Appreciate it.
Cool. Who have we got next, Shruti?
We don't have a question, but I'm just going to ask anyone to wave, put your hand up so that we could unmute you, because I think now everyone's just asking the question. So if anyone has a question. And Bruce, Abhishek has another question that he wants to ask. Bruce, also the Binance US, if you would like to also talk to them about that.
Yeah, so I know Brian's dialing in from East Coast. So I'm hoping we get Brian kind of lined up soon. But yeah, Binance US is live as well as in the App Store with the iOS is live as well. So a big week for us.
Oh, it is both are live?
Both are live.
Nice.
I realized that I had sent a message on the Telegram channel, and when I looked this morning, I realized it hadn't actually gone. So apologies to those of you on Telegram that you didn't see it.
Well, congrats to the team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. But I saw Neil. Do you still want to ask your question? I saw you put your hand up. We'll come to you. Abhishek, just unmuted you. Go ahead.
Yes. So Bruce, when it comes to Alpha Hunter and Smart Accumulator, in Smart Accumulator, it's about ETH and BTC, right?
Yes.
So the Alpha, so what if a random coin disappears just like Terra Luna did? It just goes off the market and never comes back. And
so go on.
And the coin was in portfolio and now it is gone. Now, how would the rebalancing be done in that particular portfolio?
So we did have Luna within the Alpha Hunter universe, and I don't know if we had any active trades out at the time, but it was a case of kind of hit because of the stop loss. It was hitting the stop loss, and no one lost their shirt on that particular currency. So having the kind of mechanisms in place kind of help prevent that. Now, on saying that, to the extent that something is crashing to the floor instantly, stop losses will struggle to bite. But that's true of anything that you've got at that point in time. But Luna was an Alpha Hunter, but you've seen the returns. It didn't kind of cripple anyone's capital. It was cut out by the mechanism and replaced with new currencies. I think that's the trick, if you're going to be on your own doing it, it's always tough to kind of stay on top of these things, and that's why you need, a mix of, toolkit of AI, of bots to kind of really kind of help you stay on top of that stuff.
Okay, Bruce. We don't have any questions, and Neil hasn't answered if he would like to ask a question. So at the moment, we do not have any questions. Bruce, we have another 5 minutes to go. So
okay, look. So one of the things that's come out from various users has been, can we get a bit more detail on what's happening in the trading? So I know Ben's been kind of working on putting together various packs. So what we're going to keep trying to do through the Discord channel is posting on there so that you can get a sense of kind of what's going on. And in due course, we're a few weeks away from going live with the web version, but the web version will have a lot more data on it. So I know quite a few of you have asked for kind of more data on, kind of where have you won, kind of where have the drags been. So that's coming, and that'll be coming in the web version. In the short term, we'll kind of do it at a global level through the Discord channel.
we do have Neil.
No, I was actually just using the clapping hands emoji, just trying to congratulate the team on launching the US Finance integration. I was waiting for that, so thanks. And while I'm speaking, just want to thank Bruce for the perspective you shared in the earlier part of the presentation. Very helpful. Yeah, thank you. I just downloaded the app, so let me see how it goes. Thank you. If
you've got any problems, just drop us a note on the WhatsApp or Telegram channels or email, and someone will kind of jump on and get straight back to you. We don't have a dedicated client support team, so you might get me, you might get Shruti, you might get anyone else. So depending what time of day or night you do it at, you'll get one of the team.
But we're all set and ready, so reach out to us. I have a question from Shabaz. Just one question. BTC Accumulator works well in the bear market, but although this is bear market, my BTC accumulation is still in negative.
Yeah, so we're just about to kind of relaunch Accumulator, because what it was doing is it was running on too short a cycle. So the positive accumulation was getting hit by the kind of long cycle times. So we've got a kind of dynamic variant of that coming out. Sartak and team have been working hard on that over the last few weeks based on kind of feedback from you guys and the kind of wider community. So I'm hoping that we'll have that live in the next couple of weeks, and you should start to see an improvement on that accumulation side. And just to give you a sense, so this is on back testing only. If you remember, Accumulator for last year delivered about 48%. On the same data, if we'd applied this kind of new variant on it, you would have done not quite double that, but you would have done just a little shy of double that. So it makes quite a material difference. Importantly, it should also dampen the kind of deaccumulation periods as well. So that should sort of start to pick up a bit more. So thank you for sticking with us, and hopefully the new variant will kind of boost you kind of way beyond where you were before.
Great, thanks, Bruce. We have Apar's question, and then we can end with just talking about what app changes are expected. I'm just, Apar, we've just unmuted you. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So the question is that when you change the strategy at the backend side of it, especially for the accumulator, if I'm already put money into the strategy, would I have to then stop that strategy, then re-put in the money, or does it automatically take place?
No.
That's
the plan is that it shouldn't do that, to the extent that because this is a kind of configuration and engineering change. To the extent that it does, we'll contact you directly, and someone will be there to sort of walk you through it. But the plan right now is that we're able to kind of automate it at the back end. if we were making a strategy change that we felt was different to what you signed up to, we'd clearly have to come back to you at that point in time to make sure that you kind of understood what it was. But in this case, it's configuration.
Okay, thanks.
Bruce, we can wrap up, but just before we go, could you just summarize what everyone can expect in terms of changes to the app?
So for those of you that don't know, the kind of bells in the background means Shruti's working from home today. She's actually got COVID, so she's turned out with COVID. So thank you, Shruti. The bells in the background are the temple that is very close to her house. So depending what time of day you talk to Shruti, you will get that special background encore. In terms of the app, honestly, the biggest one is Binance US coming in. There's been quite a lot of little bug fixes that we've got through. I think someone put on one of the community chats earlier about the data kind of syncing up, and there's been various occasions where what sits on your Binance account and the reconciliation of that as it sits in the wallet, and we've been trying to speed up that piece. So hopefully you should start to see a much more real-time reconciliation of what sits in your account with kind of what's being traded. So that should all be coming through. So I think that will remove some of the issues as you sort of try and sort of work through what's going on. As I say, Binance US is probably the biggest single change that we've got coming out. Others are kind of reporting of bug fixes. So fingers crossed, we're kind of moving in the right direction. But as always, your feedback's really, really, really helpful. So keep sending it to us, because that forms the basis for making sure that we end up with an absolutely brilliant product.
Thank you for that, Bruce. And again, everyone, please come on to Discord, talk to us there. Of course, all the other channels are also, ones that we will respond on, but we look forward to seeing you soon next week. We will keep this regular and hope to connect soon. And the last poll is on your screen. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.